Hey everybody, it's Maddie here with Altcoin Buzz, and I'm a new voice who will be contributing to the ever-expanding and ever-improving media output that's being produced by the Altcoin Buzz team. Very briefly about myself, I got into crypto about a year ago at this time, and when I began, I was really just twiddling my thumbs, and I was making a whole bunch of rookie mistakes. But I got more and more serious as the months went by. And by the fall of 2017, I was following Altcoin Buzz religiously, just absorbing absolutely all of their content and their videos and being exposed to new opportunities and new projects. And so I'm very, very thankful for the fact that I was exposed to them as early as I was, and am delighted to be here today as part of the team. One thing, guys, that I wish I had paid more attention to because it's a phenomenal resource is the altcoinbuzz.io website. Make sure you're checking this out. Make sure you're going beyond the YouTube because we have a whole new slate of new writers, of new content coming out, new projects, new merchandise that we're going to be announcing soon. So make sure you bookmark this page, guys, and keep track. It's a tremendous aggregation of what we deem to be the most important news. And of course, we have original content and our original takes on some of the stories of the day. So we're going to be going through some of those here, beginning with former PayPal CEO calls Bitcoin a scam. Article from yesterday by Deanna Miller. Now, Bill Harris, who's the former CEO of PayPal, has had some harsh words that he's put out there against Bitcoin. So he calls it a scam, a scheme. He calls it a pump and dump. And as rightly pointed out by Deanna here in the article, he's got no basis for it, okay? This is what's called a biased opinion, if ever there was one. And we're going to come back later in this video and look at specifically the weaknesses that PayPal has in comparison to certain cryptocurrencies. But what he's suggesting here is that it's a controlled pump and dump scheme, that it's not being regulated correctly. And he's talking about the fact that it's accepted almost nowhere. Well, there may be some legitimacy to that, but things are only improving. The Lightning Network is only growing and acceptance is only expanding with consumers and other interested parties. So this to me falls flat on its face, and I think Deanna absolutely nails it in her tone. So if you'd like to learn more about that, come by, give it a read, and leave her a comment. Moving on. Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin. So Vitalik, I'm not giving away ETH. Buterin bashes crypto news site CoinDesk as being recklessly complicit in enabling giveaway scams. So Vitalik had some harsh words yesterday on Thursday about the site CoinDesk. And essentially what happened was they had linked to an article about OMG that was effectively a full-out scam. Now, CoinDesk has a very big conference coming up. So they have their consensus conference in May of this year. So just coming up in a couple of weeks. Vitalik has very publicly stated that he will be boycotting the conference, and he's not happy with CoinDesk. He said that they're effectively running a scam and that they're an illegitimate source of news. So Mr. Worth, who is the executive editor of CoinDesk, has come out and has somewhat humbly apologized for the error. He's gone ahead and said that Mr. Kevin Worth. So he's gone ahead and said that we're disappointed to learn of Vitalik's tweet today regarding CoinDesk, and for which we apologize. Another representative added that the error regarding the link to that scam has been rectified. Kindly accept my apologies for the error. If you want to check out the drama further, guys, there are some interesting exchanges, some of which are less polite, that can be found on Twitter. So I'd encourage you all to check that out as well. Moving into the more positive side of the news today that we're looking at. So venture capitalist Tim Draper, I'm sure many of you have heard the name. He thinks Bitcoin will be bigger than the internet and his previous investments, which are Tesla, Hotmail, and Skype. So Tim Draper had the very good move in terms of foresight of purchasing 30,000 Bitcoins in 2014 at the U.S. Marshal Service Silk Road auction. So the equivalent of that today is about $268 million, but Tim Draper's not done there. So he feels that the price of Bitcoin will easily reach 250,000 USD or $250,000 in 4 years. When asked about his investment, he feels it's a more profitable one and a smarter one than all of those previous three I mentioned. So those investments in Skype, in Hotmail, and in Tesla. Tim Draper's a very bullish guy. If you have a different opinion, leave a comment, join the discussion. All right. So Malta, moving on. Speaking of the future of cryptocurrency, Malta is this interesting little island nation. It's no secret, but what is interesting is the fact that it's really defining itself as a crypto hotbed. So this is an aspect of its identity that it's shaping, and it wants to be a crypto-friendly nation, one that embraces blockchain and the associated technology. So we can see that over the last few months there have been more and more regulations, more and more restrictions that have been imposed on some of the exchange sites in Asia, specifically in China and specifically in Japan. And what the leadership of Malta has gone ahead and done is they've said, look, if anybody wants to resettle with us, we're basically welcoming any and all investors and any and all blockchain businesses. And that's been the response. So as you may know, the world's largest exchange, Binance, they've moved to Malta just last month. And I think the momentum is starting to gather here. Let me enlarge this chart. So this is based on some data that's been collected. And as you can see, in terms of daily global trading volume, we have Malta at the very front of this list here. So this is in millions of US dollars. Malta's creeping up on 1,200 million US dollars, otherwise known as 1.2 billion. So it's a leader. I mean, Malta's a very, very small country, guys. The fact that it is a leader in this capacity means it's, in my opinion, punching far, far, far above its weight. And that's a very impressive thing to see. I think we're going to see more and more of these very specific crypto embracing communities and crypto embracing regions of the world. So this is encouraging to see. I think we can stay tuned and only see it grow from here. In other news, I don't know if you've seen this article, guys. It's a few days old at this point, but this to me encapsulates everything that is exciting and everything that is efficient and technologically forward thinking about crypto and blockchain. So there was a massive transfer of Litecoin in the last few days. 99 million US dollars worth of Litecoin. And this gentleman here, you may recognize him. He's Charlie Lee. So he is the father or the architect, if you will, of Litecoin. And that $99 million transfer cost the sender only 40 cents US in fees. 40 cents. Now, I've worked a little bit with banks, with money transfers. I come from a bit of a finance background, and I know others that have worked more extensively in the banking industry and the finance industry. You know, I was speaking to my cousin about this just the other day, and he was indicating that, even for something, a transfer of tens of thousands of dollars, you're looking at fees in the neighborhood of at least a few $100s. 100 million effectively would cost, some are saying that if this were done on PayPal, for example, the costs would be upwards of $40,000. And I hope you guys have all brought your thinking caps. But if you're looking at a cost of $40,000, okay, and you're comparing that to the cost via blockchain of 40 cents, that's a factor of 100,000. That's the difference between what you can do with, in this case, Litecoin versus not even traditional banking systems versus something like PayPal, which is more or less viewed as a superior method. So $100,000. And this is the kind of article, guys, by the way, it only took 150 seconds to transact. So two and a half minutes. Yeah, that's the added cherry on top. This is the kind of thing that I have to assume banks are fearing. That's 100% certain. But industry is taking note of, corporations are taking note of, okay? Even if maybe you use PayPal traditionally, if you want to send $100 million worth of whatever, it makes sense to save that $40,000. And, look, in the real world, businesses are all about cost cutting. I have to imagine that a development like this has raised a few eyebrows. It's very significant, in my opinion. So what makes this possible? What makes it functional? Well, it's the fact that the Lightning Network is expanding at an exponential rate. So there's really been massive growth since its release and massive development in the last few months. So this is a great article by Garrett from a few days ago here on altcoinbuzz.io. And, in a nutshell, what we're saying is that the capacity of it has increased significantly. So we just passed 2,000 nodes. This tweet from April 22nd from Armin van Bitcoin. Just passed 2,000 nodes with over 5,650 open channels. Okay. And importantly noted here by Garrett, at the time of this press release, the numbers are even higher. So we're at 2,027 nodes and over 5,800 channels. Very interesting to see the side-by-side comparisons of where we were in, make that a little bit bigger here. So where we were in January of 2018 versus April of 2018. This is effectively an example of exponential growth, guys. Exponential growth happens faster than we're predisposed to assuming it will, using the human mind. The human mind, in an evolutionary sense, is bogged down with a linear frame of thinking for the most part. But, the Lightning Network and crypto in general is a function of the exponential. And that's what makes it so exciting to see and, sometimes volatile, but the growth potential is just massive. We're only getting started, guys. We're only getting started. More evidence that we're only getting started is that the CEO of Nasdaq is suggesting that, they may be open to potentially being more inclusive and accommodating crypto on their exchange. So great article here by Daniel from yesterday. And, this is a reactionary kind of response here to this surge that we had recently in the last couple of weeks. We had a down market from about even a little bit less than 270, but from 270 to 430 billion. Yes, we took a little bit of a dip recently, but looks like we're coming back up quite nicely. So in light of that, the CEO from Nasdaq spoke with CNBC. She suggested that when regulations are in place and the market matures, which is a fair point, she's open to Nasdaq becoming a cryptocurrency exchange. Okay. This is an example of the mainstream taking note, guys. This is an example of institutional investors having their curiosity piqued and wanting to get in on the game. I think for a lot of people, they saw, the January, the February lulls, those that perhaps weren't convinced of cryptocurrency and its effectiveness and its technology. Maybe they abandoned the movement at that point, or maybe they didn't have enough to captivate their interest. It's possible. But, we're seeing another one of the beginnings of another one of these rebounds now. And we have to assume that at a certain point, the institutional money, the investment houses, the banks, the hedge funds, the corporations, this is still all waiting on the sidelines, guys. And the fact that this is even being discussed, the fact that the combination of cryptocurrency and Nasdaq, that those words are even being mentioned in the same sentence, is something that's very encouraging to me and leaves me with a sense of bullishness. So this is something to keep an eye on here. Of course, we're just discussing it in the abstract at the moment, but it is starting to seep into the public consciousness. Speaking of which, we have Mr. Dan Bilzerian. Love him or loathe him, he made a tweet about crypto the other day suggesting that it's time to get back into it. So where is his tweet? Right here. Here we go. Not a bad looking man, if I do say so myself. Got to give him credit there. But that's besides the point. So he's suggesting that, hey, it's time to get back into crypto. I don't know to what extent Dan is involved in crypto, whether he's a trader. He's certainly, a flashy kind of spender. And if you haven't heard of Dan Bilzerian, he's effectively a Twitter celebrity, a Twitter hotshot who lives a pretty flashy life and gets into all kinds of misadventures. But look, he's got a certain amount of outreach. He's got, all right, not the greatest following, but over 1 million followers. He's a public figure. He's somebody in that public spotlight. So these kinds of opinions on their own aren't going to change the world, but they begin to add up. Somebody else that's more influential who has been discussing, we're hypothesizing that he's been discussing blockchain, Kanye West. So another one of these very controversial guys. Look, guys, you may not love him, okay? I'm not saying that you should, but he put out this very perhaps cryptic tweet the other day, decentralized. And look what all the comments here are about. Bitcoin, Ripple, Bitcoin. So CoinDesk is replying to Kanye West. There we go. Kanye West has been on a tear recently, and most of his tweets have been political. You may have heard that he's lent some support and he's expressed some potentially controversial opinions. That's fine. That's kind of besides the point. But for whatever reason, he's becoming extra vocal lately, and he's sharing a lot of his thoughts, which he's always sort of done. But lately, he's really getting out there into the public eye. So the fact that this particular tweet happens to coincide with his political one is something that's very good to see. And I think, if nothing else, this sparks discussion, and it generates, to one degree or another, a certain amount of public sentiment that I feel these days is moving towards the positive. So guys, if you are on Twitter, if you like this kind of stuff, hey, above all, make sure you're following Altcoin Buzz, okay? We're going to alert you here to the latest articles, to the latest news, and to some of our opinions as well. Now, guys, as I move forward with some of these videos, I just want to remind everybody that this is a collaborative effort, right? This is a community that we've created. We have a whole bunch of great followers and great contributors in the Altcoin Buzz army. We want to leverage that. We want to communicate with you guys. We want to hear your ideas, okay? So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to have a discussion, write a comment, leave a suggestion, give us some ideas about what to cover in the future. We're very receptive. We're all about the community. We feel that that is the backbone of the service that it is we're offering. So we want to be interactive. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. Make sure you're following us. You're liking and subscribing on YouTube, Instagram as well. And I'll go back, guys, to the original page that I had open here. Make sure you're checking out the website. We have a whole bunch of new writers coming on board. We're putting out more and more content, and we're looking to be the best and uphold that reputation in the crypto community. So interact with us. Let us know your thoughts. Give us as much feedback as possible, and we'll see you again soon. Happy investing, guys.